Chuck Fresh from Computer Care Clinic, and I now work for AT&T. I'm in their retail division and learning a lot about cell phones. And I'm getting a lot of questions. They're saying, should I get an Android or should I get an iPhone? And it's a hard question to answer. I suppose if you grew up in the iPhone industry and you've never had anything else, you started out with an iPhone. I had one of the first 8 iPhones here in Central Florida. I was one of the early adopters, paid a fortune for it. But I did start with the iPhone, and it was incredibly, and still is to this day, it's changed very little, still incredibly easy to use. And that's part of the appeal for the iPhone infrastructure, for the iOS operating system. It looks the same on every iPhone you use, with just very little flexibility. Sure, you can change some of the wallpapers, you can move some of the icons around, but it's very inflexible in terms of customization. So every iPhone is going to look like the other one. If you get a new one, it's going to look just like the other one. You stick with the Apple iCloud interface, all your stuff's going to come over when you get a new one. But if you change to the Android phone, you're going to get a lot more customization. Things are going to look a little different. It may be harder to find things. You've got pages and pages of icons, and it doesn't have to be that way because you can organize your home screen and your icons any way you want. You can very, very flexible in terms of combining things and putting them on different pages, but you don't get that level of flexibility. So the difference really between the Android and iPhone, Apple versus Google infrastructure is flexibility. Now, if you're a person who knows what you know and you don't want to know anymore and you came up with the Apple phone, or this is your first smartphone, or if you have an iPad, you're probably going to want to stick with the Apple infrastructure. It's just straightforward, plain Jane. It's going to be exactly the same from one device to the next. You can flip from your iPad to your iPhone seamlessly. It's going to look like the exact same infrastructure. However, if you're a tinkerer and you're tech savvy and you like to experiment and customize things and do some cool stuff with your phone, then you may want to consider picking up or switching to the Android system. Can you move your stuff over from one to another? Sure you can. If you have a Google account, you can synchronize your iPhone with your Android and everything will move over. You'll have to download and purchase apps because they aren't compatible with one another. If you buy something in the Apple Store or the App Store, you're not going to be able to transfer that over. You're going to have to buy it again in the Google Play Store. And that's a big problem for people who have invested a lot of time, energy, money, and even inputted a bunch of data into certain apps. They may not even be an option for you. But as far as the flexibility, I'm a tinkerer, I'm a tech person, so I thoroughly enjoy the customization that you can get in the Android system. Now, here's the thing. We're talking about, it's the same fight that we had in the PC world. We have a Computer Care Clinic. Should I get a Mac or should I go PC? Mac gave you one manufacturer. It was just Apple computers. They were very expensive and very inflexible. The PC gave you endless manufacturers. You had HP, you had Lenovo, you had IBM, you had Dell, Gateway, Acer, endless choices and endless prices and endless options. It's a lot more flexible. And it's kind of the similar battle that's going on now between the iPhone and the Android phone. Windows Phone has kind of sadly gone away. It was actually a really nice phone. I have one of those too. And I kind of enjoy the infrastructure, but Microsoft came into the game a little too late, so that's gone. BlackBerry's just a little sliver of the pie too, and there's some other outliers too. But Android has the most user base in the world. And the reason for that is because they're most flexible. They said, hey, this is an open source operating system. You can run it with it. Samsung, Motorola, you can have it. Lenovo, LG, some of the big manufacturers, they've run with that operating system. And they can put their own little shell on it to make it custom to and personalized to that particular manufacturer. So you have that flexibility, which is really nice. Now, what I can tell you is if you are a tinkerer and you want the latest and greatest, this is a Samsung Note 8. No, the battery's not going to explode. And the Samsung Note 7, regardless of what your Apple idiot friends told you, there was maybe a dozen, probably less, that had exploding batteries in these things. And Samsung took very, very good care and caution to make sure it's not going to happen in this thing. This is the Samsung Note 8. It has a much bigger screen than the iPhone, and it goes top to bottom. The iPhone X is still really little. They don't have an X Plus yet, but look at that for that in the next revision of the iPhones. Probably every couple of months it'll be an XS or something. Who knows what they call these things. The downsides of the iPhone X is you're going to have to wait a month or two to get one if you don't have one already, because they're on back order, because all these little people run around and they have to be fashion conscious. I have an iPhone. I'm better than you. Look at my Gucci purse. Android people tend to be a little more real. That's just how it is. I'm being honest with you here. Now this phone, the Note 8, as well as the S8 and S8 Plus, Samsung is probably the biggest manufacturer of Android phones. I guess followed by LG. I don't have the statistics on that. We'll look that up for you. But there's no glass back on this. And regardless of whether you get an Android phone or an iPhone, you're going to spend $650 to $1,000 on one of these devices. This retails for about $950. And the screen is almost top to bottom in the whole thing, just like the iPhone X. The iPhone 8 does not have it. It still has that bar on the bottom, but this whole thing is a screen from top to bottom. And what's really cool about the Samsung product, which is why I'm staying with Samsung, I almost switched to Motorola because they've got some really neat add-ons, clip-on backs with projectors and speakers. I think that's amazing, and I think Samsung should steal some of those ideas if they haven't already. Because number one, it's wireless charging, and Samsung has had this since the S6 maybe, and which is really nice because you don't have to plug in cords and you don't trash this adapter in here. And so that's pretty cool. And as far as security goes, Apple made this big deal about coming out with the most secure phone because we have face recognition. Samsung, actually, PCs have had that for years. Some of the Dell computers I bought in 2009 actually had a webcam with built-in face recognition that you can actually scan your face and log into the computer. So that's not a new thing. This Note 8 has, I think, it has a passcode, so you can enter your own passcode, I think of up to 8 digits. It has facial recognition, which it's had on, I think it had on the S7. I'm not sure, I never used it before this one. It's pretty cool. It has iris scanning. It will scan your eyeballs. And I've tried this, and that's pretty cool, actually. So you can't wear glasses or sunglasses, everything. It will actually scan your irises to open up the phone, to unlock the phone. And it also has a fingerprint sensor on the back. So it's using, I guess, 3 forms of biometrics, as well as a password or a passcode. The iPhone has a passcode and I think it has face scanning, and I think it still has the fingerprint scanner too. So this has the iris scanner, which the iPhone doesn't have. So what I tell people is that technology-wise, that the current Samsung phone is what the next iPhone will be. Samsung seems to be so far ahead. And there's reasons for that, because Apple doesn't really make their own stuff. They rely on other manufacturers, including Samsung, who I believe makes the iPhone X screen. So if you're not the innovator at the manufacturer level, you're always going to be a step behind the curve, and that's a problem. So if you're a tech person, you're definitely going to go probably away from the Apple infrastructure because they're a year behind everybody else. It's more expensive, it's a longer wait, and they have a glass back on their phone, which is incredibly stupid. They did that because they didn't want to put a plastic back on the phone for the new wireless charging that they finally came out with, because metal's going to interfere with the conduction of the electricity to charge the battery. So, why would you put a glass back on a phone? And my kid's 15, and he's broken the screen on his iPhone. He has an iPhone 7 now, and I refuse to get him the 10 just for that reason. He drops it all the time. First of all, you want to make your phone pretty. It doesn't really matter because everybody with any common sense is going to put a case on this $650 to $1,000 investment unless you're a total idiot. And there's a lot of idiots out there who don't put cases on these things. I want you to see my iPhone 10. There makes no mistake that this is an iPhone 10 because I'm cooler than you. That's pretty much how it is. It's a fashion statement for a lot of people. Yes, it is a pretty cool phone. Is it faster or better than the Samsung? Absolutely not. Is it different? Yes. Is it easier to use? For some people. I find virtually no difference in the operation of the Android versus the Apple ecosystem. I really don't. I can't tell much of a difference at all. They both do exactly the same things. Believe it or not, they actually make phone calls. You can send text messages. You can log on to your Instagram, your Snapchat, your Facebook, whatever you want to do on both of these devices. They take incredible pictures. Most people have gotten rid of their cameras. You don't even need an SLR anymore because these cameras on these things are phenomenal. People can even shoot 4K. Actually, we're shooting a TV show with my phone, and we may shoot a 4K movie in 2018 with the Samsung Note 8 just to prove it can be done. Lighting is the key. You need the lights. There's not much of a light on here. You have to bring your own lights. But if you have enough light, these cameras are phenomenal. So what should you choose? Depends on your frame of mind. If you want to be a styling bro, be really cool, then you're probably going to get an iPhone. You're going to have to wait for the 10 if you don't have one already. But if you're a techie person and you like the newer things, newer innovations, and you like the flexibility of changing your wallpaper sounds a little bit easier on the Android system. So techie, flexibility, Android, lazy, not technically advanced, you're probably going to go with the Apple. So those are some of the differences. Please if you have some ideas too, put them in the comments below. And obviously we love if you like and subscribe too. Thanks for watching. Chuck Fresh for Computer Care Clinic.